Let's move on in. Let's do it.
I mean, you're taken to some. It's not like an interrogation room. It's more of like. It's like a conference room, but a small one.
Oh, okay.
It's like you're not like.
Isn't that just an interrogation room?
Sure.
Is there any one-sided glass
no,
panes or
there isn't? And I
or
guess
is that one robot from the 5th Star Wars movie that like machine board thing that they were like zapping Han Solo in the chest with?
Yeah. No.
No Cloud City shenanigans. Okay, good. I'm put at ease. Thank you.
If they did, I'd stop blasting.
And you're all they don't make an attempt to take your guys' weaponry at all.
Over my burnt carcass.
And he sits you down at the table.
Yeah, let's get down to brass tacks.
So, would that be this? Would it be like, let's get down to Beskar?
Let's get down to the Beskar.
Down to Kalamari Plot.
Let's get down to Beskar data pads here.
Now that is just extravagant right there.
That's what like the rappers of Star Wars have, like Beskar data pads.
Yeah, but you know,
and they're like wrist mounted. That's the Rolex.
Well, no,
Beskar data pads.
The like data pad that Dokubi has, how it like mounts to the front of her armor. You just do it like that, and somebody blasts you, and it's just like, and then it just
up armor.
Exactly.
Let's get down to the Beskar data pads here. Space Wizards, what do you know?
I love it.
Space Wizards, what do you know? Alright.
The Jedi?
Wait, do we know about the Jedi? Do we know?
We know that they're called Jedi.
Do we know that
you
called
do
Jedi?
know that.
We know that they had magic. We know that they allegedly betrayed the Republic. And that they had wands with buttons that ours doesn't work.
What do you know about their wizard wands?
He seems lost.
We got one, don't we?
I take out a lightsaber and I click the button a couple times and show nothing happening.
Yeah, ours doesn't work.
Does he seem to respond to it, or does he seem similarly confused at what it is?
I mean, he sort of says what you heard from the old Nautolans you talked to before, that like it's probably a lightsaber. It's supposed to be the Jedi's weapon. Why doesn't it work? He's got no idea. Where did you get that? He won't ask.
We didn't kill anyone for it.
Yeah.
I say just like that, staring at him.
I can pull up the stat block and find out how many people you killed for it if you like.
I mean, we killed them after we got it. But he doesn't know that. And I worded exactly like that, and I stare at him blankly afterwards. Presence of life. He didn't ask if we killed anyone, but I just say, well, we didn't kill anyone for it.
Now he thinks you killed someone for it.
Exactly.
What about a Nautolan? Iraddot Stoall.
Specifically, we have been made aware that he is on an Imperial Prison Planet. We need to know which one and how we can get him off of it.
Like when you say the name, he immediately is sort of like, it's like, we know Iraddot Stoall. He was a rebel officer.
Where is he?
So as you said, an Imperial Prison Planet.
Do you know which one? I assume they have more than one.
Yes. Good guess.
Good assumption. That's what's great about Apex, man. Always just knowing the odds.
He kinda,
never tell me the odds. Or always know the odds.
He kind of looks around at the trader and says, like, I'll tell you what you want to know about this prison planet, under the hope that it will keep you from breaking anybody out of it.
No.
Unlikely.
What,
You
think
need
we
to tell
can't?
us, and we're going to do exactly that.
I don't think anybody can.
Well, I don't think you've ever heard of Haas Radborn and his team.
I don't think you've ever heard of a Gaffy Whack.
I don't know if Gappywack's our go-to maneuver on this one, boys.
You ever hear anything about the Blue Star ship? We went in and out of there flawless.
Cleanest job.
There's obviously it's obvious that Joel, who's like leaning against the like you see him immediately like holy shit like you see him
He
like
makes that connection.
immediately like you see him immediately make that connection.
Truly. Truly? Yeah, okay, right. How about a mango truly? Yeah.
And it seems like the Major is slightly taken back as well, but he doesn't have quite the same visible reaction of like, holy shit, that was you? Like 9 people died. He's like, it's clear everyone here is like, is that their plan?
I'm the one who killed someone with a wrench. I know it looks like he'd be the one to do that, but modern problems require modern solutions.
I immediately stole a blaster from security and got that person fired.
That person might have been dead.
You might have gotten him fired, or we might have fired on him later in their heist.
Yeah, something happened, but...
So, Iraddot Stoall was an officer with the Rebel Alliance before one of their operations went sideways. His outpost got raided, and the few rebels that survived were all captured. As far as they know, from mostly from monitoring Imperial comms, Iraddot and a couple of the others from his group were taking to an Imperial. The technical name is Imperial Prison Complex SE2 or SET-022.
SET-022.
Most people call it the Nest.
I don't like that name.
Now, the Nest is a prison planet, but it's part of a space dock and mining operation that builds Star Destroyers. So the planet itself has the mines and the foundries, and in orbit around it is the space is a space dock that builds Star Destroyers as well as TIE fighters and shuttles. The problem is there's an Imperial class Star Destroyer on standby in orbit around that planet at all times, and no ships are allowed to remain on the planet's surface. If a ship lands to drop off prisoners, it immediately leaves. If it drops off supplies, it immediately leaves. If a ship lands to pick up freight, it has to leave as soon as the freight is loaded, and all outgoing cargo holds have to be unpressurized. That way, nobody can stow away amongst the cargo and make it off the planet. And that way, the reason they leave no ships on the surface is if the prisoners were to rise up and overthrow the Imperial garrison on the planet, which is sizable, they would be trapped on the planet and they can just glass it from orbit. So it's not just... So once you're on the surface, you would have to find him, which may not be all that difficult. Oh, and the other thing that makes the Nest unpleasant is it's a largely volcanic planet. So if you're not in the mine complex itself or in one of the outbuildings, you have to be wearing a breathe mask because the air is toxic. So you have to somehow land on a planet that is closely monitored without getting blown out of the sky first. Find Iraddot Stoall, assuming he's still alive, and get him off. Which is why they'd love to raid the Nest. Not only would it be destroying a piece of the Imperial war machine, but it would be rescuing a lot of rebel sympathizers, political dissidents, and the like. But it's just not an operation the Rebel Alliance is willing to undertake. At least not without very good cause, considering the amount of resources they would have to put into essentially an invasion of that size.
If they would not be willing to invade, would they be willing to sponsor a much smaller mission in terms of intel and supplies to give a couple of fearless morons a chance at it?
It would kind of depend on your plan.
So here's my plan. We need to...
We start last.
And we don't stop until there's nothing left to blast.
We need to get our shuttle. We need to get on board and take over a shuttle doing a pickup here. While doing the pickup is the only thing that seems to have a somewhat considerable amount of time that we could be spending on the planet as they're loading cargo on. We need to find some way to have a smuggling compartment or something along those lines on this on this shuttle in the cargo bay that'll be depressurized, that we will smuggle a spacesuit inside of. And while they're loading stuff on, one of us sneak off, get him and bring, or maybe a couple of us, sneak off, get him into the cargo hold somehow on board with this cargo, get him in the suit, and then fly off with him. That's what I propose. That will require us to gain an Imperial shuttle that is on course to do a pickup from this place. As well as a spacesuit, which should be much easier. And then while there, it's on us to quickly find where he would be, find him there, and get him back.
I mean, it's not a small operation, but
How about this?
the easiest place to look for information like that would be either the Operations Center planet side or the Operations Center in orbit. Either one of them would have the prisoner work logs, which should tell you if he's still alive and where he's scheduled to be. Otherwise, you're talking about thousands of prisoners.
Once we're on planet, if I can get to a computer system, I think I could I'm confident I could get into it and find any logs about where prisoner groups are. I think I could track him down using that process. We'd have to get on planet or get on orbit and get access to one of those terminals, but I think I could get through any defenses it has.
Do you think it would be better to do the intel outside of that planet first?
Possibly. Another option would be...
We get better intel, too, about shuttle schedules.
Another possibility, too, would be to get one or two of us on planet prior to the pickup shuttle and have us find this information, find this person, and then stow ourselves onto some cargo. And then have that cargo get picked up by one of us in the shuttle to get off planet with the spacesuits.
Just as long as they don't discover the Gank comlink.
I mean, the Gank comlink is implanted in our heads.
Yeah.
Along with my ability to hack into things. I have unless they start removing chunks of my brain, which, who knows, Imperials are scumbags like that, but...
Welcome to prison, line up for your lobotomies.
Well, here's my thought. I think it would be best if you and Baxas were the ones on the planet.
I think you would be the best suited for convincing people you are an Imperial officer on the ship.
Yeah.
But we're going to need more hands than just you to get that ship in.
Mm-hmm.
I turn and look at Joel.
My only counter argument to me and Apex being on the planet would be you would need somebody who could be quick in a in a space scenario is piloting wise.
Not necessarily. If you're flying the shuttle, like it's kind of it works or you die. Like I don't think you can like do a cool maneuver on that shuttle that'll make it survive a Imperial class Star Destroyer.
Well, that's
Yeah,
why
okay.
if we had resources from the rebels, I don't have to fly the ship. Like especially if I'm
Yeah.
an Imperial officer, I wouldn't be
You
the
can
one
put
flying the
that-
ship anyway.
Mhm.
You can put Art Evan as the pilot. Put our droid on there. Because
Only if that.
If that would make
Is
sense.
normal?
I don't know if that would be.
I mean, they're not going to be shuttles, is the thing. They're going to be like cargo vessels,
Yeah.
and they're going to be essentially just making the run from planet side to space dock.
From planet side to space dock, meaning the in orbit
Mm-hmm.
space dock. So we'd have to get on orbit first, anyways. This was like an orbiting.
It's essentially a large space station that builds Star Destroyers and acts as the command structure for,
That's kind of
for the
above the prison.
and it's in orbit. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's
So,
gonna be
so the cargo
getting
freighters
on
essentially move back and forth
Oh, I see.
between that.
So we'd have to get to that command center.
You have to kind of start there to get access to one of those cargo ships to get somebody off world.
Yeah.
And then from there, it's a matter of leaving that space station without.
The only way the rebels are willing to make like an actual military maneuver out of this is if that Star Destroyer is out of the picture.
New plan. We infiltrate the Star Destroyer and shut it down from the inside. No, we shouldn't do
I
that.
mean,
That's much less
that
likely to
would-
succeed.
I like. This is what I love about tabletop RPGs is somebody's like, all right, plan that will never work, and somebody else in the party goes, you know, actually, I like this plan.
And then they find a way, and then there's a god of sheep running around.
Well, you just have a point where we should probably find out if he's even alive anymore.
We're not going to do that without getting on board that space station or on that planet.
Maybe I can.
is there a way for us to...
In more long form, be in disguise as an Imperial officer. Like I'm on that ship and somehow. I don't know. Maybe that's just completely unrealistic either.
Well,
basically, I just
you
fool
want to go
people.
join the Imperial Navy, work up to
Work up to the rank of officer.
start just eventually get yourself stationed on that.
Here's the thing. I mean, if we can...
planet.
I think there's a lot I could do on the computer side of things if we can get access to those terminals to find out information and to plug information in. Like all of a sudden there's a officer file for a Ross Hadborn, an officer Ross Hadborn who has some clearances in places that he shouldn't and things like that. And we might be able to kind of get you some access that way as an Imperial officer.
Mm-hmm.
And make kind of legitimize you in that role, but it's just still the matter of getting on board the station unmurdered.
Would there be a way for us to jam signals? Then we can sneak and we can fly in undetected?
There.
And then it might be a stealth mission.
What book is that in? There is something that helps fool ship sensors. I don't. It might take, as you guys are discussing this, keep discussing. I will try and find this modification of the game.
Could we get on that ship as like some sort of like consultant or like, you know, like they think we're like some specialists or just like something for system repairs or
I mean,
it'd be hard to like
we start our
Initiate
own
that.
mechanic company. We rise to be the most respected mechanic company in the galaxy. The next time they have something
20
broken, we come on.
20-year plan.
Okay, so that one wouldn't work. That is not the one that I was thinking of. It'd be hilarious.
I don't think we're going to be able to, like, fly our ship onto that space station.
Yeah, no.
I think that we're going to have to get... I think our... You know? I have a thought all of a sudden.
Oh?
We know somebody who... Well, no, theirs wasn't an Imperial shuttle. Never mind. Our friend... But somebody we could call a favor in. Not really a favor, but just they seem crazy enough to come with us. James O'Bondo.
Yeah.
What is it? Taz Bondo? Right?
I think it's Taz?
Taz?
Taz
Bando?
James.
Not Taz Bondo?
James O'Bondo?
Taz Bando, not
Let me
James
check the
Taz
notes on the
Bando,
Blue
Bando?
Star job. Taz Bando.
Taz Bando. I mean, that's another pilot we could call in the favor from. Not that they owe us anything. But the shuttle that they had wasn't an Imperial shuttle. That was just like a regular, getaway vehicle, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
There was one that Ogdor had modified, wasn't it?
No, it was one she stole and modified.
Yeah.
Because
Was it an Imperial one?
No.
It was just a... She just jacked around.
She has a ship. It was too well armed to be allowed on the Blue Star, so she just boosted another shuttle and modified it. There are two modifications that that you can get done to ships, which reduce or affect how difficult it is for them to be detected. I guess Baxas, as the pilot, would probably know about these. The first is Night Shadow Coating. Reduces the range band of enemy ships' passive sensors to 1, or by 1, to a minimum of close range for detecting a vessel with Night Shadow Coating. And a Whisper Thrust Engine, which increases the difficulty of checks to detect a vessel by 2 while it's traveling at speed 3 or lower.
Okay. I don't think that trying to make our ship hard to detect is the play here. I think it's getting a ship that belongs there.
This would be not even making our ship hard to detect. Because if we hit a point...
The rebels could.
Now, the other option you
orchestrate.
have for messing with sensors and comms units, Electronics Countermeasures Suite. Problem is, immediately notifies all ships in a star system or within 100 kilometers if planetside to the ship or vehicle's existence. Makes you harder to hit in combat, but
Everyone knows you.
everyone knows you that. So I don't think you'd be going with that one if you could take the stealth route.
Mm-mm.
Well, I think the Rebel Alliance could, like, if anybody's going to be able to get their hands on, like, a fake Imperial ship, it's...
I mean, we could pretty
Rebel
easily get an
Alliance.
officer uniform and a couple stormtrooper uniforms. I know that much. As long as we're precise in our aim, we won't have too many blaster marks.
Except it'd be the bit from Solo near the beginning where he's like...
I feel a little ganky for a
Well,
stormtrooper.
no, we're in Solo where he's
Oh,
just like, you... It's like, you guys aren't Imperial officers. A, none of this is standard, and B, all of your uniforms were clearly shot.
I think we could get access to these things. I think that between if the rebels are willing to help us, between them and our own ingenuity, I think we could get... I mean, we just need to figure out what planet sends supplies to this space station, and from there kind of work our way to a position, to more and more of a position of leverage.
I mean, there's lots of traffic back and forth to the station.
Yeah.
There's just not a lot of traffic to the planet's surface.
Because, I mean, if we can get to planet surface on one of these cargo freighters, and then, like, we don't even have to, like, have taken control of the cargo ship. Like, we can just have found a way to stow a couple spacesuits inside of this cargo ship so that people could wear that when the thing gets depressurized, and then it lands, and from there we try and get on board something to get off station.
Yeah. We could start blasting once we get back up there.
I mean, we probably shouldn't. I'm gonna err on the side of we probably shouldn't.
Probably can't start blasting on the planet. We probably just redo.
How much would the rebellion be willing to help us in this endeavor?
It depends on your plan and the resources you're after. I mean, they're not going to, contribute a fleet unless you can get rid of the Star Destroyer. They're not going to, but like they can help in small ways as long as like your plan isn't, I don't know, I was gonna run in there naked and just wing it the whole way through.
I mean, that is part of our charm.
Charm, that's what you call it, huh?
They are, after all, running a rebellion.
Mm-hmm.
They want as much as possible a concrete course of action. Because especially if he's having to bump it up the chain and requisition supplies, he needs to be able to tell them what it's going to be used for.
We're dealing with middle management.
No, you're dealing with military. A military.
So
It's gonna be tough.
Okay, does the space station have outside of the Star Destroyer? Does it have a defense system in place on it?
I assume there's typhons.
There's
scramble.
Obviously both the Star Destroyer and the space station would have TIE fighter squadrons, and as well as just probably some frigates and other smaller craft. The frigates, the rebels would be willing to tangle with. It's the Star Destroyer. And there would be some defensive emplacements on the space station as well, turbo laser batteries and stuff like that. It's not going to be on par with the Star Destroyer necessarily.
I mean,
Apex. Would we? Well, it's not even more Apex. It's just more of. Would we be able? Let's say we get on this station. Could we realistically set off maybe a diversion on the station? Distract the Star Destroyer enough to maybe send a few squadrons out to check on the station, and at that point, we could probably have a few rebel squadrons take out the TIE fighters that are sent for the SOS checks.
I mean, if we were able to get to a place where we're at the console or whatever that's the command console for the station, we might be able to send a kind of red herring or a false report of incoming rebel fleet and try and scramble the Star Destroyer to some other coordinates to intercept.
Yeah.
But it would get there, there'd be nothing there, and it would come back. And I don't think that's enough time for us to evacuate the planet and not have it just show back up and decimate the rebel fleet that came to help us. I don't know if we could do it quick enough.
To evacuate the planet, we could at least get the Star Destroyer off-world long enough for us to figure out the course of action. We can at least go and get who we are looking for, and in turn could be a big help for the rebels in figuring out how to realistically attack the planet for their...
I just don't know if it'd be enough time, because I guess sending it away, I don't see what... It's not going to, like, blast us as... I mean, it's not going to blast us any worse than anyone else will if we show up in our own ship. And if we show up in, like, undercover, then we don't need to deal with getting it out of there anyways. I think that with the Star Destroyer, we either have to try and, like, take it out from the inside somehow, or disregard it and just know that a rebel fleet's not coming to help us. We're going to have to go about this a little smoother than we tend to with our operations. I still think it's an espionage. It's a subterfuge kind of mission.
I mean, I think
to get in and out.
In a sort of behind the curtain sense, you can look at it as having one of two paths available. Your target can either be finding a way to deal with the Star Destroyer, or finding a way to get, or finding a way to pull off the rescue mission. Though, like,
one is more simple but more difficult, if that makes sense. Like, one has a lot less steps and a lot less chances for failure, but every chance of failure is catastrophic with that one. It seems. It's kind of like, do you want to move one really big boulder up to the top of this mountain, or like 100 pretty good sized rocks? And I personally love a convoluted plan, so
that's why I think you're going to end up with a convoluted plan either way.
True.
Alright, so we do a bunch of bounty missions and farm XP.
We show up way over level for this zone.
And we just walk through the Star Destroyer, shooting everything.
I
Who
think
are you? You did all the side quests first.
I think that we get, like, we go to the nearest by Imperial outpost. We stow on board, like, we get you in a position to where, like, you can be in a Imperial officer's uniform. Get on board a resupply ship that goes to the station, and then from there, like, it's going to be like removing and replacing people and getting into a position where we can, like, take command of ships to get on world, and then try and get him off world.
Yeah.
It's just, like, we don't know enough specifics to have a specific plan in that regard.
I mean, they can give you, like, they don't necessarily have technical readouts of the whole thing, but they can give you kind of what information they have. It is a place they try and monitor, even if they're not necessarily willing to just outright attack it.
What do you guys think? How do you feel as far as convoluted plan or just trying to blow up a Star Destroyer?
I think your plan's probably the one that's actually, like, could be successful. Like,
It has a lot more opportunities for us to mess it up.
because we're not going to be able to go in there and just blast our way through.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Similarly, we could kind of go for the subterfuge thing and try and get on board the Star Destroyer, and then from there move around, find vital systems, and try and sabotage it to the point that it's just, I don't know.
Well, we all know there's a one room in the Star Destroyer with the 3 rooms off of it, and one of them's got the little shields, and one of them's got life support.
That's true. That's right. But this one guy just sits there with his torch and heals the system the whole time.
Yeah.
And anyway, I just flew my ship right up to the blast shields and then landed it so that I could get in and then jump outside in space and walk around the outside of the ship with the invulnerability on. Star Wars Battlefront jokes.
yeah,
Because if you turn invulnerability on and you land halfway through this blast shield, you can enter ship then exit and land on the outside and walk around the ship.
You couldn't do anything from out there except fall off to your death.
Yeah, but it's fun.
That's why when you land in the other guy's hangar, you do the troop craft so people can respawn there.
Exactly.
And then you just turn the hangar into a battle.
Mm-hmm. We do that. We just bring a spawn point with us for the Rebel Alliance.
Every time one of your characters die, you just make a new character. And they jump out of the ship.
I mean, I think if we were to somehow stage that, like, I am there to bring supplies. Well, even, like, say, if I can get on the ship, or on the space station as, you know, pretend that I am a Imperial officer, and then, so my, like, I don't have to try to get it, like, I don't have to try to, like, get the supplies to the ship, and then also somehow find a way to get it to the planet. I'm just on the ship as a fake officer. One of you.
Why did you put the air quotes around fake?
There's something
you have something
guys
to
don't
do?
know about my character.
Freeze! You're under arrest!
You
Freeze in the name of the Imperial Empire! I almost said Imperial Alliance, but that didn't make a damn sense.
I liked Imperial Empire quite a bit.
Freeze in the name of the Imperial Empire! I'm good. Thank you.
Long live the Empire!
May we force it in you!
Maybe force it in you. So if one of us is this, like, the like supplier to the station, and then the other one was
Here's the other problem.
Was the courier between the ship or the space station and the planet.
We've got a Gank and a Nautolan, which is not conducive to posing as stormtroopers or Imperial officers. Isn't the Empire like a bunch of xenophobic bastards who, like, they don't hire Nautolans as stormtroopers?
Well, yeah.
Well, you could maybe wear stormtrooper armor.
If I could strap the fur down well enough, it might not pop out.
Is it... Well, the thing is the people supplying the material, or, supplies to the Empire to be taken down, is that an Empire operation, too? Or are they just like, oh, well, we're buying it from this planet, and some dude comes and delivers it to us, and then we deliver it to the ship.
Here's an idea, too. What if we get into whatever... So here, I'm convoluting the plan again. What if we break into whatever the, nearby system, whatever is that, sends stuff back and forth to the space station from the nearby planet? What if we make, a false log of a prisoner getting transported to this place? A Nautolan rebel sympathizer, Baxas Neck, who we then bring as a stormtrooper and an Imperial officer, and he is getting delivered to be a prisoner on this planet. And then he can find this guy and meet up with us, and we lift both of them out when the time comes. And that's our reason for getting on board station and then onto a planet.
That could work.
That could be a way to get him on, and then we have to then get ourselves onto the transport to go and pick them back up afterwards. Yeah. But that could be our way to get him on world, find the guy, and give us some legitimacy in our going there.
Good.
Right.
Like, if you could just come up with a fake report for a prisoner, couldn't you also just make a fake transfer for this guy?
Possibly, but I think that it'd be more reasonable to convince them, we are here to put someone in prison, not take them out.
People don't get transferred out of this prison without some pretty high clearance. This isn't the place where you go, serve your term, and then get cut loose with a parole officer.
This is the place that they send you because they feel that death would be too nice to you.
Or they send people here as a way to dispose of people without authorizing an execution.
I like this idea of putting me as a prisoner, and I go find this guy
Good, because you're the person who we most need to convince. If you're willing, I think you can do it. If anyone can do it.
But I need rebel clothes because I'm not losing any of my stuff.
Well, we're gonna bring you in like generic prisoner attire. Your armor staying. All of our like good gear is staying on board our ship, so that whoever finds it after we're dead gets a sweet loot drop. You know.
Yeah.
So, I also have one more request. I require a small blaster.
There's no way we can get you on planet with a blaster.
No, because I mean, you go through processing on the planet side. So as soon as you arrive there, you will go through processing, and that's where you'll be like probably given a work jumpsuit or whatever.
Yeah.
Well, all right, fine. We'll go with this.
I mean, the rebels could. That is something the rebels could do. Is arrange to have
A prisoner.
somebody sent there.
Okay.
Like the major believes that is almost certainly something they could pull some strings and have done. It's just one of those like I'll do it if you want.
If you really want me to, I will send you to the most maximum security prison in the galaxy.
Well, it's not that, but it's a pretty maximum security prison. He's like
we literally like show up, save one of his agents' lives. We're like, put us in jail.
Oh, yeah.
Put us in jail.
He's kind of like if you would. He's kind of like looking at you two, like if you would like to never see your friend again, I can make that happen. I guess.
How can you do? Can you do so with us on board the transport taking him there? Because that's the important piece.
Probably not, because it's probably going to be an Imperial prison transport.
Well, we don't even have to be the ones to take him there. We just have to be the ones to pick him up.
But we need to get on station.
Yeah. How the hell are you gonna? How are you gonna?
Well, he gets sent there, and then we work on becoming, or we work on somehow this ruse that like I'm this Imperial officer,
Just a stormtrooper.
and
I don't say
you're
words.
just a stormtrooper. Whatever, you're my stormtrooper assistant, my personal shock trooper, or something like that.
Would you be able to come up with fake credentials for yourself?
Yeah.
To make it.
Because all we gotta do is somehow
Get on board one of the
get on
resupply
board
transports.
as the commanders of this, or just as the essentially commanding one of these transport, or not even transport ships, like a supply ship. So we go and bring the supplies in, stow our spacesuits. Somehow we gotta figure out how to get them back in as fake cargo or whatever. Because you said not a whole lot comes off the planet.
It's just like essentially processed metal.
Yeah.
And it's just going from the foundry to between the foundry and the space station.
Apex, you're basically just processed metal and fur.
I resemble that remark.
So if we could pull that would be the hardest part, is somehow getting them onto the ship. Because it would be
Sneaking
easier
them
to
onto the
get him on. He could get on to the planet.
And I mean, even if I think the big thing will be finding some suits that can survive the vacuum of space on into that cargo hold. Because I don't think it's going to be that high of security for like loading the cargo, because they're like, we're going to turn this thing into a death box. No one wants to sneak onto this.
Yeah.
So if we have some way on board there to make it survivable, then I think we got a plan.
So
Joel has one question.
Okay.
Assuming you make it that far,
Mm-hmm.
how do you get off of the space station?
Well, we assume that there are ships that leave the station. You say there's a lot more ships that come to and from there. We hijack one of them, probably. I would say stow away or find legitimate... I think that we basically get on board one of them somehow by sheer force, probably, and make sure they don't send any communications before then, and go back to whatever planet we came from, or so help us.
Well, Joel just doesn't think it's going to be easy to get from where the ore is offloaded. Or, like, where the processed materials are offloaded. Shut up, laptop. I don't care. I don't care what you're saying, Ad. He just doesn't think it's going to be easy for you to get
From the
from
delivery bay to the flyer.
because you're talking about an Imperial space station. That is, it's not going to be empty. Is his point?
Mm-hmm.
Especially if, as one of your earlier plans suggested, you're dragging him into this, which he has not agreed to.
Sounds like you're in.
I volunteer. Joel comes with Baxas.
I'm sure he's game. I'm sure he's game for that. I think Joel comes with us as a stormtrooper. But he does raise a good point. How do we get 2 Nautolans through customs?
I'm pretty sure that's like bringing fruit through customs.
Okay.
You're just not allowed to do it.
Bringing this fruit through customs.
So we have 2. So I'm the officer, 2 stormtroopers, you, and maybe some rebel officer that's very brave.
Maybe. And definitely Joel Son.
Yeah.
Who was very brave and much appreciated.
Major son.
Mm-hmm.
And even if there's some like actual stormtroopers that we can just take care of somehow. So you get the spacesuits on by wearing spacesuits under the stormtrooper armor, which might not be
I don't think that's
entirely
gonna work.
possible.
I think-
Regardless, the spacesuits are not pertinent to this plan. But if you could get them on and somehow get them into stormtrooper armor.
I just don't think we're going to be able to get Nautolans into stormtrooper armor because of
Yeah.
their tentacles.
How
Cutting off the tentacle.
how visible is your armor?
My armor at this point it probably is quite visible because I intentionally thrown
Right.
the cloak back before and I have not thought to cover it back up. So it is likely quite visible at the moment.
Ah,
I mean, I do have Purge Trooper.
flawless plan right here. We don't do anything. We just make a bunch of money bounty hunting.
But
we say, you know what? Who cares about the Force?
but it could be so
I
neat.
don't want to force it in you anymore.
We're trying to discuss this plan for hours.
The major sort of taking note of your armor,
Mm-hmm.
which obviously it's not like you're an Imperial spy, blast him.
Blast.
It's like you obviously killed a man for that armor.
Mm-hmm.
It's just that your armor sparks a thought that if you wanted to, as you were saying, simply transfer a prisoner off of the planet, you would either have to have suitable documentation to do it, which would have to come from a very high level, or you would have to have documentation that nobody is willing to look all that closely at. Now, they wouldn't be able to get a hold of actual Purge Trooper armor, but especially for people who have obviously seen Purge Trooper armor up close, the Major thinks it might be possible to fake some amount of documentation and have, if you wanted to go with the, Imperial Officer and Stormtrooper plan, you could instead go with an Inquisitor and
Purge
Purge
Trooper.
Troopers. You do have a lightsaber. It doesn't work.
But somebody has to know it doesn't work. Major, I knew I liked you for some reason.
So we're
And he seems to be volunteering Joel.
to be friends. I do love the idea of getting to keep wearing my armor.
Yeah.
And obviously, if you want to still get somebody arrested, it's essentially the same thing to have both of them transferred as it would be to have one transferred out.
I mean, I guess it's kind of a matter like, so we're saying...
If you still wanted to send a person ahead.
I don't think it's worth sending him there if that's our plan. I don't think we need to complicate it by giving him a chance to be in jail, too. Like, this prisoner just showed up, and an Inquisitor just showed up to pick him up from here. Do we think that that's more likely to work? I mean, we could try. We could certainly try and be an Inquisitor and Purge Trooper, picking up that this is a prison transfer from the highest order. Why would a lightsaber be relevant?
Because the Inquisitors carried lightsabers.
Okay. Yeah. You'd have that. Yeah? They don't need to know it doesn't work.
It's true.
Yeah, that's what I just said.
I like the way you think, Jerry.
It says Baxas from behind Apex. That's what I just said.
I was still calculating.
God, calculate faster.
One day.
So,
I need to plug more USB cords into myself. Then you'll see. Then you'll all see.
Okay, so we can get... So what you're saying is we can potentially get paperwork that classifies our friends here as an Inquisitor and a Purge Trooper that nobody's really going to look at because nobody's going to question an Inquisitor and a Purge Trooper, and then that's how we can get our guy off planet.
The Major just doubts that anybody who would be handling this sort of transaction on the space station probably hasn't seen official Inquisitorious documentation.
So we could just make it look convincing
and the rebels would know enough about that type of documentation anyway to make something that would be convincing. It wouldn't necessarily have to pass all the same muster as regular transfer documentation because people are like, this is from the Inquisitors. I'm not saying no.
Well, and that leaves some room to kind of try to talk.
And at that point, you're doing a lot more coercion.
Yeah.
Which is your specialty.
Yeah.
How do you question the Inquisitorious?
Hits him with an axe instead of a lightsaber.
Draws lightsaber, pulls lightsaber out, punches it to the guy's face.
This Inquisitor didn't even need the lightsaber turned on to kill him.
It was horrifying. Don't question him. Don't question him.
Force choke and just grabs him by the neck.
Just rips his throat out.
I am okay with this plan.
Don't
So,
mind me.
I like that plan. But anything else we got? If we all die, then sweet.
nice.
Well, obviously, the Major was about to ask if you have a death wish, but obviously you have a death wish for being like, hey, we're breaking into the nest and getting the guy out.
I thought Major was a lady.
We're well aware that we had a death wish the moment we said we were part of the Blue Star job. Should have been well aware.
Let's do it. I like it.
I think it's a good plan.
I think it's a great plan.
It came from our DM, so it's got to be.
It was just a suggestion.
Mm-hmm. I think that I was kind of considering it, but I didn't really think that they could get us armor that looked like it. Because I had the thought of my own, but I was like, it's not enough. And I mean,
they could modify. Like, it is not going to be official Purge Trooper armor,
but it'll be convincing.
But they can try and make it convincing. I mean, they can get a hold of laminate armor.
Apex, can't you modify? Don't we still have the helmet? Can't you modify that to fit over your head?
I think my head's fairly normal shaped. Like, I can fit in a Stormtrooper helmet. It's just a matter of it being tight enough that no fur's sticking.
I mean, the Stormtrooper laminate armor, they're wearing like a bodysuit underneath. So.
Yeah. So I should.
I mean, Apex, I can.
He's just a really, really hairy Stormtrooper.
Are there no razors in space?
No?
If I need to trim in certain spots, we can, but you're not shaving me. I'm not being the naked mole rat of space. I refuse. Death first.
What? A week? I don't know how long gangs.
Were you about to call me a Bothan, first of all? How dare you? Bothan's the worst furred race. Besides those ones. Squibs. Squibs are the worst because of that one art. But second
It'd probably be
worst.
fine if they didn't have that one art in the species compendium for this game.
Ay. So let's do that. How do we get a ship? Do they? I assume they've probably got Imperial shuttles that they've
They
stolen.
can probably get a hold of one.
Yeah.
It is going to be one of those things where it's like they should be able to get a hold of the shuttle. They should be able to get a hold of clearance codes to land, but like
We're on our own from there.
you're on your own from there. And like if the it's like, and if the codes don't clear, may the force be with you. You know what I mean? It's like
Maybe force it in you. Maybe force it in you.
like it's like that's like they can. It is very much like they can probably put those pieces together. Like the Major's fairly confident they can get you onto the station. It's after that's like.
I have no doubt that you will flawlessly maneuver, scaring everyone around you until they let you take what you want. And I mean, we have a legitimate reason of like the Inquisitorius believes that this individual has information on Jedi sympathizers, and we need to take him for questioning. Like that's legit. He does. That'd probably be on his file if they've got a file on him that he has. Like that's part of why he's in trouble.
Well, and then you can even just throw out there. It's just like we have discovered that he may or may not know where some hiding remaining Jedi are, and we need to interrogate him to get this information.
Mm-hmm.
We have ways to lie through this.
Yeah,
Just a matter
and the lies are reasonable ones. But reasonably, Baxas, you will probably have to like fly the shuttle and never show your face because you won't be able to
Fair
blend.
I'll just stay hidden.
I mean, unless we got you like one of those big engineer hats, they have that are like swooping out the back. I mean, that way if they walk on the ship and they look at the back of your head, they're like, oh, it's just an engineer. And they're okay, and they just keep doing it. I think it's worth. Yeah. I assume that the rebellion can get one of those hats too, just in case someone comes on board the ship and sees the back of Baxas' head.
Yeah.
Let's do it. Let's go for it. I'm in.
I'm in.
You in, Joel?
He is accompanying you, not of his own volition.
That's what we're...
Because I was amused by the idea of you guys taking him along, so therefore he's coming along.
Not of his own volition, just as we planned.